Hello, everyone. I'm hoping that you all can hear this. My name is Christopher Anatra, and I am attempting to use Zoom live streaming along with Facebook. So hopefully I can see your comments, etc. But we will begin. The topic of my little presentation here is called, What is the Mandela Effect? And for some of you, you may have heard of the Mandela Effect. You might not be sure of what it is. Some people might have said some things that just may not have gotten into your attention the way it should. So what we're going to do in this presentation is you're going to learn a lot about the Mandela Effect. And wow, I see people are commenting, so this must be working. That's great. Okay, so as I go through this, I have a presentation that I'm going to show. So you'll see the screens come up and so forth. Because probably the best way to talk about the Mandela Effect and explain the way it works is to have you visually see certain things. I apologize too if my eyes kind of go all over the screen because I'm looking here, I'm looking there, I'm looking at the camera, so we're all over here. So, okay, I'm now going to share my screen. And feel free, if you have questions, as we go along, you can put them in the box, and then I'll be able to hopefully see them at some point and respond to them. Okay, I'm going to begin my screen sharing now. Okay, so what is the Mandela Effect? It's something that a lot of people have thought about, spoken about. Some people pronounce it the wrong way, etc. I'm going to go through this and explain these different concepts to you. First of all, who am I? My name is Christopher Anatra. I started a YouTube channel called The Quantum Businessman. I am the president and CEO of a computer software technology company specializing in food distribution. And in the summer of 2019, I created a video about the Mandela Effect and how it was affecting my customers. And that video got over 50,000 views in a very short amount of time. And I was able to address the Mandela Effect from a business point of view and bring quantum physics into it. Now, when I was doing this, we talk about Mandela effects. For some people, it's kind of a subject where you might be viewed as like not being able to remember things properly. They call it confabulating, but that's not the case at all. But in any event, before I released this video, my board of directors, they pleaded with me. They said, don't do it. People are going to lose confidence in our company. You're talking about Mandela effects. They said no. But I had to make that ultimate decision. I said yes, and now I'm here being able to share this information with you. And I'm very happy to do it because it so much ties into the work that Catherine's doing, that you all are doing with her programs. And really, when I have been working with Catherine, it's really taken my knowledge and understanding of time and timelines and our holographic reality and taken that to the next level. So I know everyone here understands Catherine's work, and all of us, I don't think we can speak enough about it. So thank you, Catherine, very much. What is the Mandela Effect? Well, it was named after Nelson Mandela because many people, including myself, had a memory that he had died in prison in the late 1980s. Now, people were surprised to find out in the 2000s that he was still alive, and alive until 2012. So because there was such a large group of people that had a very vivid memory of him passing when he was in prison, and the funeral and how his wife became president of South Africa, etc., it really made people begin to wonder what was going on with reality. And so it was given the name the Mandela Effect. Now, there's so many different types of Mandela effects. When you become aware of them, you're going to begin to find that they branch out into all different aspects of your life. So examples, and I'm going to go through some of these. Historical events. Products, that's a big one. A lot of people they get confused about products. Geography. For example, I remember the time when South America used to be under North America. Now it's kind of pushed out towards Africa. Art, famous art has changed, such as the Mona Lisa now smiles. In my past timeline, it was always like, how come she's not really that happy? Something called mandanimals. These are new animals, sometimes even extinct animals that all of a sudden have made a resurgence. And a lot of these mandanimals, wow, they're really, really interesting. And they affect all the different types of life on the planet. You know, the insect world, sea life, mammals, all over the place. The anatomy of our body has changed. So many different things with that. Like, for example, I remember when the kidneys used to be in your lower back. Now they're in your rib cage up on either side of your lungs. So if you get a kidney punch, I guess it's changed. It used to be down here, now it's up here. Our solar system, now all these planets, for example, have rings. So there's solar system Mandela effects. Famous people's names have changed. There's a phenomena called alive and dead again, where you would have, like Mandela, you'd have a memory of someone dying. Another example might be Jim Nabors, who played Gomer Pyle and a lot of other stuff. I have a very strong remembrance of him passing in the 90s because my grandmother was a big fan of him. He had died of AIDS. Turns out he didn't die until much later than that, like 15 years later. There's something called the concept of negative timeline insertions, there's positive timeline insertions, etc. And what these Mandela effects do, they're great for teaching. They teach how our reality functions and how our consciousness works. What is the Mandela effect? One of the things I like to do is to liken it to an Easter egg in a video game. So now if you're a gamer, even if you're not a computer gamer, you have come across the term of an Easter egg, which is like a secret. You find something that's not supposed to be there, for example. So these Mandela effects are hints and wonderful surprises that we have experienced a timeline shift. Now, for myself, why am I talking to you now? How did I get here? Well, for myself, it started kind of innocently with the Berenstain Bears. This is back in 2013. What had happened was I was reading one of my sons, the Berenstain Bears books, and we had read them we have probably 20 or 25 of the books, and we would read each one every night. So I got to know them pretty well. All of a sudden, I looked at the Berenstain Bears books, and one of the names had changed to Berenstain. And I'm like, what, Berenstain? I thought it was a misprint on one of the books. So then I looked at all the books, and they all said Berenstain. So I couldn't figure out what was happening. I thought someone broke into my house and took all of the Berenstain books and replaced them with Stain books. Because when you start to experience these things, your mind tries to compensate and tries to help you understand what's going on. Obviously, that wasn't the case. There was a timeline shift. In 2017, I had a eye-gazing experience, which this will be for another video, but it allowed me to start to understand the Akashic records and how important they are. And the concept of reincarnation, for example. Before that, I'm like, reincarnation, that's ridiculous. I don't believe in that stuff. So all of these things, the Mandela effects, all these other things started adding to my spiritual awakening. So in 2017, I kind of started coming online, still within the process, like most of us, all of us, but in that awakening process. During this presentation, I'll be transmitting abundance codes, the biophotons in my body, the frequency of my voice, etc. We'll be sending out codes such as that for awakening as well. And if you can, you might be able to pick up on some of those things as well. Now, the slide I'm going to show you next was really the big one that got me. The JFK assassination. Okay, so if you look at this car right now, this is right before JFK was shot. You see 6 people in the car. Now, as a kid, even young adult, I had watched this video of the JFK assassination hundreds of times, trying to figure out who the shooter was, etc. There was never 6 people in the car, nor a funky looking long car like this with a glass panel in the middle. And who are those 2 people in front of JFK and Jackie Onassis? That's the governor of Texas, Governor Connolly, and his wife. And Governor Connolly gets shot too. He gets shot in the leg. All these events happen differently. I thought somebody went into Google for an April Fool's thing and just changed everything. So everything about the video is different. The timelines of events and how they happen, they're all different. That was like the big thing that got me. How could this be? Here's an example of a mandanimal, tree kangaroos. Now, if you're from Australia, you might say, oh yeah, of course, everyone knows that there are kangaroos that live in trees. They're called tree kangaroos. I never heard of a tree kangaroo. And you could see like sometimes 10 or 20 of them all hanging out in a tree. For me, that's a Mandela effect or a mandanimal. And there's literally hundreds of these types of things, hundreds, including things like extinct species like the Tasmanian tiger coming back again. Oh, here's another one. Beavers have orange teeth. Like what? Beavers with orange teeth? I know, it's kind of funny, but they're made of steel. They never stop growing and they oxidize like iron. There you go. I never knew, to me, that's a Mandela effect. Giraffes, there is a type of giraffe called a dark giraffe. And also what giraffes eat has changed for me. So I was always taught that giraffes were herbivores and they only ate the leaves off of trees or plants. However, in this timeline, you can easily find footage of giraffes eating meat, carcasses, bones, rabbits, birds. Like what? Giraffes don't do that, but they do now. Especially a certain type of giraffe called the Rothschild's giraffe, which is another subject for another video. Art, here's another example of art. So this is a famous piece of art called American Gothic. So a lot of us remember the farmer, looking straight ahead at the camera, holding his pitchfork. Do you remember who stands next to the farmer? His daughter. Did you think it was his wife? It's always been his daughter. Now, I remember the wife looking straight ahead. She had like gray hair, a little bonnet on. Now it's the daughter who's probably late 20s, early 30s. She's got blue eyes, kind of looking to the side. That's not the way it was. And this is, I'm not making any of this up. By the way, feel free to go ahead and Google all of this information for yourselves so you can kind of see this and prove that, how the timelines are shifting, if you need that kind of proof. There's also the concept of negative timeline insertions. I've created a lot of videos. One of the things I talk about is these negative timeline insertions regarding World War II, specifically about the Nazis, and how where I live in Connecticut in the United States, off the coast of New England, in the Long Island Sound, 5,000 people were killed by Nazi U-boat attack. They were on ships, passengers, sailors, etc. 5,000 right off the coast of where I live. I never heard about that. The Nazis even sailed a U-boat right into New York Harbor and sunk an oil tanker in 1942 called the Coimbra. Big explosion, rocked Manhattan. I never heard about these things. These are all Mandela effects. And in this case, what you would consider negative timeline insertions. I will go further because I'm just going to add something to this, and that is from where we are now in the stream of time, we're in this pandemic situation. I was kind of quite surprised to learn in 1958, there was another worldwide pandemic, same type of thing, same type of a virus pandemic. It caused a recession. It's called the Eisenhower recession. The stock market crashed. It was a big commotion. Now, that's new for me. And then also in 1968 and 1970, there were two big outbreaks of the Hong Kong flu virus, which killed millions worldwide. Lyndon Johnson, the president at the time in '69, he actually came down with the Hong Kong virus. Him and his wife were sick in the White House for 3 weeks. All these things never happened. But again, more evidence of timeline shifts. And literally almost every day you look for things, I can find things almost all the time. Now, these Mandela effects began to affect my software business, which specializes in food distribution software, because data would change and clients would call in and they'd say like, no, your reports are wrong because I know this guy hasn't done blah, 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 or he hasn't bought this much product before, or I know he's always done a lot less than this. Like why, your data must be skewed. And also too, the names of products would change. For example, they would say, where's my Stouffer stovetop stuffing? Like for some reason, your system changed it to Kraft. And we would be like, wait, hold on. Stouffer stovetop stuffing. By the way, I remember Stouffer stovetop stuffing. You might remember it as well. But in this timeline, it's never existed. It's always been Kraft stovetop stuffing since it was introduced in 1971. So keep that in mind. That's what I call a timeline brand overthrow type of thing, where you can, if you know how to work with timelines, you can actually take a brand over, which is not a good thing to do. Haas avocados. If you buy or eat avocados, you remember them being spelled H-A-A-S, not like they are now, Hass, H-A-S-S. And they've always been H-A-S-S. I remember the German botanist that discovered the tree for the Hass avocado in California growing in his backyard, et cetera. There's a whole story with that. But now there've always been Hass avocados. Macintosh apples are now McIntosh apples, et cetera. Now, when I was going through this, the left side of my brain, so to speak, wanted to try to rationalize all this, because I would do these presentations for clients for my food software, and we would have sample purchase orders and invoices. And the last item, for whatever reason, always used to be Haas avocados. And I would always see that every time I give a presentation. Even in my head, I'd go Haas so many times in my head. So I thought if I could just go back to the hard copy printouts, the hard copy invoices, et cetera, I'd be able to show what happened. Like, it switched over in this particular year. But that's not how it works. Once you merge into a new timeline, that timeline takes over. So when I went back and tried to find the evidence, it all said H-A-S-S, even presentations I gave in the late 90s and early 2000s. Really incredible. So the Mandela effect has also been a way, besides awakening me, it's also helped me talk to business people about it, for them to help to understand what reality is and quantum physics and so forth. The Mandela effect is part of the awakening process for a lot of people. It's an alarm clock that goes off, and a lot of people, they hear the alarm, but they're like, oh man, I'm kind of drowsy, I'm kind of tired. They hit the snooze button until another Mandela effect comes along that really will wake them up at some point. There's so many examples. I have a note here about the example of my parents and the Bible. My parents are big into the Bible, and we were talking about how I'm like, Dad, there's been some Mandela effects affecting the Bible, such as like fill in the blank from the book of Isaiah. The blank will lie down with the lamb. And he's like, the lion. And I'm like, no, that's not what it says anymore. So he pulls out his Bible and it says wolf. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. He pulls out more Bibles and they all say wolf. So that's one example. But on the other hand, I talked to him about the JFK assassination. He always remembers there being 6 people in the car. For him, it was always 6. When I say 4, he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, of course, everyone knows the governor of Texas got shot in the leg. It's called the magic bullet. And he's going on and telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So one of the lessons that I learned is sometimes when you learn about these Mandela effects, you're excited to share them, but not everyone is ready to hear them. I mentioned it, it's like we all have like a wake-up date. And if you try to wake somebody up before their wake-up date, they're either going to walk away, they're not going to be interested, but when they're ready, they will chase you down because they want to find more information. They want to help discover what's going on. So, are we in a holographic universe? My answer is, yeah, we are actually in a holographic universe. One of the things you should think about is the atom. The atom is made up of pretty much all empty space. It's 99.99999, 12 9%, 6% empty space. That's basically empty space. And I use the example where if you were to remove all the empty space from all the atoms of the 7 to 8 billion people that are alive on the planet now, they would all fit into the volume of a sugar cube. That tells you something right there. And that's something that we're all taught, in high school, et cetera. That's a fact we all know, but we just never connect the dots all the way. Tesla said, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. And light are photons. Photons are energy, frequency, and vibration. And a hologram is a projection of light. And even Professor Stephen Hawking's, his final theory is the universe is a hologram. And there's been a lot of books written about this subject for those, again, that lean towards the left brain. The Holographic Universe is a good one by Michael Talbot. It's very deep. It goes into quantum physics. It goes into a way of understanding what's going on from the more of a scientific point of view. The Mandela effect also explains the doppelganger scenario, such as what happened to the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger astronauts. And I created a video about this, and I'll post it, because what had happened was there appears to be doppelgangers, people that are alive that have the same names, the same birthdays, nearly the same birthdays as the deceased astronauts, and they look the same except they're older versions. Now, the way timelines work and how versions of people, because these astronauts were not supposed to be taken off the timeline, and I explained it in my video about how Earth, for example, can authorize, we'll call it a copy and paste of other versions of people to bring them back onto the timeline because they were important to be here. So when you start getting into timelines and Mandela effects, all these things start to make sense. So Mandela effects are forcing people to re-examine what reality is, who they are, why are you here? And I have a channel on YouTube called the Quantum Businessman channel. It's hard to find, but if you do type in Quantum Businessman, it will come up. I also have a website called quantumbusinessman.com where my videos are posted there as well. So I invite you to look into that and share it with your friends that might be questioning things and really want to learn more about what's going on. Okay, here's one of my, this is a proof. This is what I use as a proof to show that the Mandela effect is real. So Richard Simmons, you know, sweating to the oldies. In this timeline, Richard Simmons has never wore a headband. How weird is that? I always remember him wearing a headband. I remember being a little kid and my mom like exercising to his videos on TV. I don't really think she did that much sweating, but he always had a headband. So that is my proof there. So I'm gonna stop the screen sharing. Okay, so I want to thank you guys for watching. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them in. I do see that, yeah, thank you. I saw some of those comments. You guys are agreeing with me. I really appreciate that. So that is my presentation. I'll add more information into the page here so that you can find me, look at some of my videos. I think you'll find them very interesting. So thank you all for listening, and I thank Catherine for providing me this opportunity. So now you know a little bit more about what the Mandela effect is. Thank you.